So now as far as metallurgical process is concerned, it actually you can say consists of 4 steps, 4 major steps, right. Actually it is 5 because in the first one you need to you can say powder the ore, but I am not considering that powder one in the step, like apart from the powder one. So let us say that it is the first step or it is 0 step, let us keep it at 0 step, right. So after that, like means we need to powder in every case, in most of the case we need to powder the ore, and after that like we have to follow the 4 steps. The first step is that, first step is concentration of ore, right. So in this what we will do actually, suppose you can say you get a rock, right, you get a rock and or say we get an ore from the the earth crust, and like we see that ore actually consists of clay, dust, the insects, the you can say the vegetation. There are many more things which are stick to the ore. So the first step is that to remove those things, because they will definitely interfere in the processing part, right. So that means concentration of ore means to remove undesirable substances, or I will write the gangue particles. And after removal, what we get, the ore which we get is the concentrated ore. Now, how we can remove those gangue particles? We can follow either of the steps. We can either opt for hydraulic washing, we can opt for the magnetic separation, we can opt for the froth flotation, even we can opt for the leaching, right. Actually these 4 steps, actually you can say that these 4 steps, like out of which step we will choose for which ore, it actually depend upon the certain properties of the ore. Like if the ore is magnetic, we will be choosing a magnetic separation, and likewise you know that there are certain limitations that the ore should possess this and this property, then only it can be concentrated by this method or this or this or that. So I will make you familiar with that, but at this moment what I want is, I just want to make you familiar with the processes actually, right. So that you should know that we can do this concentration by not 1 step, 2 steps, there can be a 4 steps, right. So the first very step is to remove the impurities, that means to concentrate the ore, and for concentrating the ore we can opt for hydraulic washing, magnetic separation, froth flotation and leaching. After that, like suppose keep an idea in your mind that you get an ore and you have already removed all those gangue particles, and now you are left with the raw ore, you are left with the raw. Now what to do next with that ore? So next thing is that the second step, that we need to convert into metal oxide. Suppose I get a bauxite ore and I know that it is an ore of aluminium. So after removing the gangue particles, my second step is to convert into its metal oxide. That means aluminium oxide if it is an aluminium ore. So I can do that conversion. Basically this conversion is called as oxidation, because we are converting the ore into metal oxide. So we can do it by calcination or we can do it by roasting. We'll do it, we'll take up later that what are the processes actually, what we do actually that result in the conversion of ore into metal oxide. The third step which we'll be doing now, like you have a metal oxide, earlier you had a rock, right, you had an ore, then you concentrated it, then you now have a metal oxide, and the third step what we are going to do with the metal oxide is that we'll be converting the metal oxide into metal and oxygen. That means we'll separate them. That is something called as reduction. We can do it by heating, as many metal oxides are not stable, so just by heating they just loses oxygen. So obviously we can do it by heating. Likewise we can do by certain electrochemical processes, we can do it by the oxidation reduction processes. So there are the 3 methods like which we can opt depending upon depending upon the principles, depending upon the properties of the which metal is to be concentrated, right. So we do it by selecting on merely on the basis of the properties. Fourth step, after getting a metal, this metal which is obtained is not pure. We need to purify it. So that is why our fourth step is purification. That means just to purify it, maximum purification is done so that it can be sent to industries where if the metal is you can say used in the sheets, then it is converted into sheets. If it is used in the form of wires, it is converted into wires. So likewise, as per the demand of the public, it is being after this purified metal is converted into different forms, so that you can just go to market and just ask for those desired shapes or forms in which you need your metal. So the fourth one is the purification. You can do it by electrolysis, You can do it by liquefaction method, you can do it by distillation, and you can do it by vapor phase. And moreover, we have one more chromatographic technique also, which we'll be taking up later. So these 5 steps, like after covering these 5 steps, you'll be familiar that how a purification is done, and after following these 4 steps, don't forget that 0 step, right? There you need to convert it into a powder form. So after just make it in a powder form, then remove the gangue particles, convert into metal oxide, get a metal from metal oxide, and then just to purify it so that you can use in a ready to use form. So now as you are familiar with the processes which we are going to do in different steps, so now we are starting with the first step, that is the metallurgical process step number 0 or 1. We will be starting simultaneously with that. So we are starting with the metallurgical process. Just look at the board carefully, right?